Welcome to 50/50 Books, the book review podcast where the books are split in two, and figuring out just what is going on is a toss-up. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jonathan. This episode we are reading She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Heard, up to but not including chapter 22, which is a Veronica chapter. Taylor, we've got ourselves a YA for sure this time. I was feeling. How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, it's got the YA ingredients. It's a very quick read. I actually finished it like 2 hours before we started recording this, which is really bad. I shouldn't have done that.
It honestly was quick, so I get it.
Yeah. The characters also certainly feel a little bit YA.
They are definitely teenagers.
Yeah.
Better to say that. High emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And definitely like quick love between the main characters, like kissing on night one, sleeping over on night two, like it just fully in.
Yeah, I actually don't know how long it's been. It's like been a week or something.
Yeah, maybe not even.
Yeah, and a lot has happened. Lot has
Totally.
happened.
Yeah, I kind of like, maybe one of the thoughts I had while reading this is like, I'm definitely not the target audience, right? Like this is a YA, so already kind of not the target audience, though I'll still read YA forever. Like I can't stop doing that, but definitely targeted at people who are like the main characters of the book, right? So like young queer girls, maybe non-binary folks, people in lesbian relationships, queer relationships, things like that, which I am in a queer relationship, of course, but like definitely more on the sapphic side. So like this is just so outside of my realm. There's some things that don't work for me because of that, but then I think there's maybe some things that don't work for me just because the book is what the book is, like delivering what it's doing. So I've been feeling a little bit like there's some things that I think are really compelling about this storyline, and then some things where I'm just like, maybe it's just missing me.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that like made me feel like YA vibes, the photo shoot situation with Mick's mom, I think like becomes a little bit more compelling over time. But at the beginning, we were just kind of launched into that, and like supposed to take it at face value, kind of, right? The concept feels not unbelievable, but a little ridiculous. And so I think that's why I feel this way. Is like, I think I needed to be bought into Mick a little bit more for me to get, or like maybe understand who Mick's mom was a little more for me to get this. But at first I was just kind of like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is a little crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is the YA effect, right? Like you start when the action is happening, right? So you get the immediate kind of hook in the very beginning of the book,
Right.
which
You have
is
to
what this
capture
is.
the attention of, the young adults who are reading this. So I get that.
And it is like the easy setup to sympathize with Mick before we kind of build on it more.
That's like the danger zone too, right? Because like we've complained in the past about like using trauma as character development, right? And this is why I say like this ends up like fixing itself later on, because I do think we get real character development, so it doesn't lean on that forever. But that's at least like the initial vibe I got was like, oh, like I'm just supposed to buy in because like because there's something to sympathize with Mick over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just felt I guess flimsy until it wasn't, because then it wasn't. But I don't know. It is that early impact. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's also the fact that it's not like maybe in like a normal book, which is a weird way to say that, but like in a different book, it would be just the mommy issues, right? Like that's enough of an issue to drive Mick throughout this entire journey. But we really have like Toxic Yuri, we have Mick with her mom, we have a boy drowning in a pool, we have Arson.
Yes.
Like there's like a lot of things that are traumatic happening to this one character. And it's kind of like, okay, but when is enough,
Honestly. Yeah, I see that, though. I honestly, by the halfway point, I'm like, no, I get it. I think I think maybe too, because like the photo thing does fall off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is, at least it doesn't look like, and by the photo thing, that's way too vague for this book. I mean, the thing with Mick's mom, like that falls off just before the halfway point, and so it's like, okay, like maybe the whole book isn't about this one thing, and so that works, right? I do think like the drowning. I wonder, if the drowning of the boy is something that's going to keep getting talked about now that they had their ocean thing. It seemed like it was a foreshadowing of them ending up in the ocean, but it seems like such a significant event for Mick that it should follow her through the rest of the book.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much is going to carry through. I think the mom stuff might matter at least a little bit longer because of the gala we have going on. And she's expressed, like, if her mom sees that she's being posted in a magazine, it'll be an even bigger betrayal and blah, 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 blah. So it's still, like, important.
Right, right. The character of mom is still important. Just I don't know if I thought the sort of the YA feeling of it all was like that at some point she was going to get pressured to do the photo shoot. And it seems like in a way she's getting pressured to do other photo shoots, but not that particular one.
I see. Okay, so do you think the mom just won't come up as, like, an actual character again?
I I don't know, actually. It's a good question because I think she could reasonably come up again, but I think the most important part to me is just that the photo shoot isn't the pressure anymore because they've lost it, right? Like that's what kind of makes me feel better is like not the right word, but like it loosens me up on the whole like it's overdoing the trauma thing. I think the mom could potentially still not show up given that there's this kind of finality to it, right? That, oh, like she's kicked me out of the house and it's different this time.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's one less pressure for Mick's, yeah, character to think about.
Exactly, exactly. So I'll just be curious now if, yeah, like now that, I guess, and I should say now that the arson has happened too, which was, I feel like the drowning was very entangled with. I do wonder if that'll continue to show up. But if that's where I'd have more of an issue, like something so significant as that to Mick, I think it needs to continue affecting her, like being a thought that crosses her mind.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's just a question of whether anything comes of it at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we kind of already got into some details on on the characters from the general vibes talk, but maybe we can get into specifically Veronica. We've talked about Mick already a little bit to start. We'll come back to her, but we can get into Veronica as the relevant photographer character in the story.
Yeah, we know she uses an older camera that uses film. She says it's because it makes it feel like the shots she's taking is more purposeful, like every piece of film matters, which I think makes sense. That gets set up pretty early, so then it's interesting to see her later on not wasting materials, but she does kind of obsessively print a lot of photos of Mick, which I think is supposed to showcase her kind of spiraling.
I guess you could also just see it that if she does really value like her way of doing photos so much, you know, the fact that she's putting so much effort into developing all these different versions of photos of Mick is it's not just obsession, but just like showing that she's her values are shifting, right? Like and whether that's about her photo materials or just about like caring about Mick a lot, you know, one way or the other, but it could be something it could be something deeper than obsession.
Yeah, I guess the caring about Mick thing is just like a bit of a coin toss because the first photo she ever takes of Mick is a lie.
Yeah,
she says there's no
true.
film and there is film and
no, true. Yeah, as far as what is it that she cares about, that's a good point.
And she very much cares about getting into like an art school that's not just the community college, which is where her mom works. Her mom's also an artist. So she has more prestigious, I guess, ideas of what art can be. More mainstream. Nico calls her a sellout. He's kind of joking when he says it, but I don't know if he actually is joking.
Yeah, more direct than anything, because yeah, she's more traditional, and I mean Nico's just the opposite. So there's strong contrast. I don't know if traditional is the right word, but yeah.
I think traditional is fine. I think it should also be mentioned that it's very privileged of her, right?
Totally.
She's obviously well off, even if, you know, her dad is who knows where. Her mom is working at a community college, but seems to be making enough money for them to have a nice house, to be stable, for Veronica to be able to live in a good area school-wise, and then also have ambitions for an art school.
Oh yeah, and like funding the hobby, right? Like buying, you know, I would say that there's not a mass market of this type of photo development material in the public as there once was. It's a little more specialty, her art, right? So they've got to be paying a decent amount to keep it up.
Yeah, and I mean, she was given, I think it was the master suite of their house so that they could turn the bathroom into a dark room.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's interesting when you see her with characters like Nico, who we know was in foster care, and then we have Mick, who can't trust her mom, has to work her own job, has to save it so that she can afford to go to school on a swim scholarship. Like, there's a lot of high pressure for the people around her that Veronica just won't be able to comprehend.
Yeah, and I think this is another kind of YA thing too, right? Where these characters are meant to be so opposite in their background, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I say Veronica and Mick when I see these characters, but yeah, Nico too, right? Like there's supposed to be a strong contrast between Veronica and both Mick and Nico, so that way you can, like, I don't know, I guess just like really understand the sort of, I would say understand Mick's background a little bit more, or sympathize with Mick's background a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I would say on the topic of the more privileged background too, like one thing that's been kind of bugging me about Veronica is maybe her maybe a secondary result of kind of having this privileged background is that there's kind of a lot of focus on herself, and she's able to put a lot of focus on herself and her art, and I think it's created a bit of an ego for her, and so that leads to like, I would say, a series of kind of shitty behaviors that she has with Mick, but maybe in general, as far as like a lot of pressure around making her art happen, right? Like she just the way she is with Mick is like weird, like lying about the film, and like kind of using sexual pressure, I would say too, like knowing that Mick is sexually interested in her and like using that to convince her to be a photo subject, right? Like, and I think the most disturbing one for me was when they're in the dark room and she like starts taking off her bra strap and stuff and is like still snapping photos, and maybe that's because we have the context too of Mick's thought around even normal photos feeling like she's being exposed sexually, right? But then for like her to do that and like take photos of it, I was like, this is just, I mean, it feels, you know, manipulative, maybe a bit abusive, right? But at least she's exerting some sort of power with the justification that she needs this stuff.
Yeah, there's just like an unwillingness to stop, right? It's bad enough she took the photo, but then she developed it multiple different times, and then she digitized it so she could post it online, and then she took more photos and blah 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 blah. And like, in part of this, she does eventually ask Mick. She's like, "Is it okay if I post this? Is it okay if I take pictures of you?" And Mick does consent, but there's a clear distinction between enthusiastic consent and like pressured consent.
Well, totally.
And not just pressured consent, but Mick is also like, Veronica knows Mick doesn't like having her photos not only taken but shared. And then but she asks anyway, which I think is like ridiculous, because to your point, right? Like, she knows Mick is interested in her and all of this. And then there's also the fact that Mick is going through a lot, which we mentioned earlier. Like, she is experiencing traumatic things. She's like not in the right mindset to consent to anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, which like I can see, you know, without, how do I want to put this? Like, I can see without like a clear explanation of how A leads to B for especially a teenager like Veronica, that particular part of it isn't going to process. Of like, she's going through all this stuff, like she's probably not in the condition to consent, but like even without that, there's plenty enough here that she should know she's pushing it. I guess another thing that bothers me about this too is like, it's I guess you see it with other folks who talk about their experience with sexual assault or abuse in the past, and like what that can do to the rest of their lives, kind of, right? Someone who's like been broken down in those ways and who hasn't had boundaries respected may no longer be making active effort to protect their own boundaries because they've no longer see the point, right? And so in this case, Veronica's crossed lines, you know, stepped over boundaries, not respected consent. So why would Mick put the effort into doing that? Because it's not going to work, and then it's just going to make her upset about it, when she could, you know, at this point just choose fine, whatever, which is effectively what it sounds like when she is consenting, right? Fine, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Mick says like, yeah, fine, whatever, and then Veronica pushes. She's like, okay, but how do you really feel? And then Mick is like, I feel like shit. Like, it feels like shit that you do this. And then Veronica is still like, okay, but we need to go to the gala. And it's like, okay. Right. And it to your point about not just like this relationship with Veronica and the lack of boundaries that really began at the very beginning of their relationship because of that film, but Mick's relationship with her mom is very similar to this, right? Like we don't know how many times the mom has tried to pressure Mick into doing something like this, but at least we see one instance in which Mick says no and her mom guilt trips her about money, right? Like,
Yeah.
I won't be able to
The
pay the
pressure's
rent. I
high.
won't be able to.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so now you have Veronica coming in and saying, if you don't do this for me, I won't get into postmod. Like, I won't be able to go to art school. Like, I need to be able to do this. And it's like, this is the same situation again. And it's like, what is Mick supposed to do?
Yeah, or she just like continues to get used for other people's advantage, right?
Right.
That's ridiculous. And on back on Veronica's side of it too, the one thing that's or another thing that is pissing me off about this is like we've kind of reached a point now where Mick is going through personal changes, right? And she's like, like she's wanting to play with like facing fear, right? And like kind of living on the edge, like that kind of thing, like kind of and a little bit encouraged by this idea of like, okay, like I'm facing my fear about photography, and there's, maybe because there's also kind of a sexual component to it or whatever, but she's getting interested in pushing that a little bit more, right?
Hmm.
As a result, it's like kind of led into the direction of like now even when Veronica is maybe trying to be a little bit more cautious, Mick is like, no, like just do it, because she's like liking the feeling of fear. And maybe that's not where the issue lies, but what that kind of implies to me is this idea of like, well, it's okay now because she likes it, right? Like it's she wasn't consenting to it and she didn't like it. She's kind of still not fully consenting to it, but she likes it now, and so it's okay, right? Like it's like we can like, and I'm not saying this from my personal perspective. This is what I'm seeing. Like it feels like we're justifying the crossing of consent lines with, well, now she feels differently about it.
Yeah. And something you mentioned earlier, they're teenagers, they're not going to fully understand like their feelings and how A might lead to B, but also this aspect of Mick liking it. It's there's like first of all, nobody in this book is a therapist and we are also not therapists,
Yes,
but
yes.
like there is a fine line between facing your fears and being self-destructive.
Yeah, that's true
And
too. Yeah.
I think what Mick is more so like she thinks she's facing her fears, but I really think she's just trying to ruin her life as quickly as possible.
Mm.
The way that she's acting with Veronica, the way that she's acting with Nico, the fact that she set a fire, like she's literally burning up as quickly as she can, because her life is just in such disarray, I think.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Yeah. It's the whole Nico identifying that she's like she's on the verge, right?
Yeah, she's on the edge, is what he keeps saying.
Yeah. I think it's just so upsetting because what Mick is looking for is trust, right? She's looking for a trusted partner, someone who is not like her mom, right? And she's just kind of happened her way into someone who is, right? With Veronica, every time she sees her, it's a new surprise, right? It's either we're revealing a lie, right? We're revealing the film, we're revealing the Instagram blow up, or it's either a lie or a surprise is coming out. And so I just don't see how Mick is ever. It's not going to help her case, right? She's never going to find stability in this.
Hmm.
And Veronica is just, yeah, she's just making active choices that don't help the case, and she's got this kind of she's starting to realize it too. Like some credit, like a few chapters before the end, she's like, oh, like here are all the mistakes I made. So good, but like she's creating this. She's trying to create a sense of security with Mick that doesn't exist. So then it's a false sense of security that is then broken over and over again. So Mick's gonna have nothing left.
Yeah, which is such a shame because Mick has been trying to build stability for herself, right? Like her mom, yeah, was a problem, but Mick has been doing everything right, with what she can do, which is she got a job. She's been putting so much effort into her swimming. Like she is trying to create, even if it's not stability now, she's trying to create a stable future for herself.
Yeah.
And now she's in a difficult position because of the photograph in which her mom has kicked her out. And so now she needs to find stability in like where to sleep, right? And she can't ask Veronica because that's not really stable. Like you shouldn't move in with the person you just started dating a week ago.
Yeah. I will say, like, I mean, she's already staying over there. Like she's like, I can't tell her that I need somewhere to stay because like I can't tell her like how messy my life is, and it's like, girl, you're staying there because of the exact same reason.
Yeah, I know, but like it's not sustainable at least.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
And it'll create like dependence and a whole mess.
For sure.
At least for a couple months, right? That she has to stay there. But what ended up happening, which I guess we'll get into later, but what ended up happening is now she's becoming reliant on somebody else.
Yeah.
So that she can get that stability. And it's like that person also isn't great for stability either.
Exactly. She's looking to the wrong person. But like in a way, I have to say I get it, right? Because Nico's, first of all, so much more similar to her, right? As far as background, he's just a little bit older and has like, it sounds like maybe gone down the wrong path a little bit, right? But like there's a connection point between them, and I think Nico, yeah, we'll get into this more later, but Nico really identifies with her, so that's not setting them up for success.
Yeah, I'm so curious about her dad's side of the family.
There's so much secrecy about it.
Yeah, so I'm like, is he actually a piece of shit, or is the mom just being manipulative?
I mean, I could totally see that, right? Like, just based on the way she is, like, yeah, being manipulative about the situation. She's definitely withholding information. Like, yeah, I can only imagine he's on the other side being like, my ex-wife won't let me have communication with my daughter, or like maybe they did some legal weirdness that's preventing that. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy, because let me just say, this is an aside, but the mom being like, I knew a 9 to 5 was never
yes,
for
dude,
me.
I wanted to bring this up too, yeah.
I hate that shit. When you're a parent, I don't give a fuck what your dreams are.
Yes,
I don't give a fuck how miserable you are. You get a fucking job and you take care of your children.
Yes. Right, because at the end of the day, what that tells me, because, okay, one thought I had early on was like, oh, like, this photo thing is a little stupid. Couldn't she just say that Mick needs to work some more part-time hours, you know? Like, get a summer job, right? Whatever it is. Not that I think it's great to put your money problems on your children, period, but you know, if it comes down to it and you're like, listen, we're in a real tough spot, like I would really appreciate it if you got yourself a job, right? And put it in Mick's hands, right? Of like, how does Mick want to decide to help out and pull in money? Not like, I'm gonna sell your body for you. Like that's, so that was where I started. But then she makes this comment about, oh, like I'm not gonna work a desk job, and it's like, oh, so we're not without money because we're struggling. We're without money because we're too good for it. And that's a totally different game. And so putting all that onto Mick to be like, oh, like, you have to solve our poverty because I'm not going to go work a desk job. Like, then you don't deserve a kid, frankly. Like, yeah. And you're totally right. Like, it's a thing of like, you are a parent. Like, I'd say you chose, but who knows, right? But like, you are a parent. That's the responsibility you have now. So that's, I don't know, that's like what you do. Like, you have to figure it out. Oh, it's crazy. You're on it for that. Yeah.
Crazy curveball theory I'm going to throw out, though. We have the message of like the 2 murders, 3 drownings, 1 fire, whatever. We have a stalker that comes into play, right? It feels like the stalker and the murderer might be the same person, but the fact that they're distinct, I'm wondering if the stalker, here's a crazy one, what if the stalker is her father that ends up finding her because of the photo?
Oh, shit. Wait, that's great.
The stalker is like a red herring. It's like he's not actually there for evil, but maybe they think he's like a creepy guy, but it's actually like, that's like a Wattpad storyline. I don't know if we're going to see that, but
I don't know. I mean, I could see it, right? Because then like the sort of out of the story is that she doesn't like, the fact that she's kicked out from her mom's, maybe they totally cut off communication. And so there's nothing to stop her from communicating with the dad. And if the dad actually turns out to be like a stable, full adult, and maybe he lives nearby, or like there's an opportunity for another school with a good swim team she can join, whatever, like she moves in with him and she lives like, I don't know, a normal senior year of high school and like is able to do what she wants to do.
That might be too happy of an ending, but
it might be too happy. I mean, especially because this isn't giving happy ending vibes per se, but I could see it. There's space for it, at least. I wouldn't be like, oh, this is too ridiculous.
It could be an interesting twist.
We haven't really gotten any strong signals that anyone is being stalked yet.
No. That's why I was mentioning at the beginning, like it doesn't, like we're halfway and everything is really quick, but also it doesn't feel like a lot of the important stuff has happened yet.
Right, at least the advertised details.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, I try not to get too attached to advertised details these days. I've complained about this enough, but book descriptions are often deceiving. Probably due to no fault of the author, to be clear, but...
But to bring it back, to rein it in, we did mention the fact that Mick doesn't like having her photo taken. We're not going to spend, I guess, any more time on the consent aspect of that. But when I was reading it, I thought it was really interesting how Mick kept talking about something you mentioned earlier of it feeling like something is being taken from her, which kind of ties into there is some myths of like photo stealing parts of your soul.
Right.
I don't know how much that's true, but at least like you're familiar with the concept of that being a thing, right?
Yeah, I remember that from 6th grade social studies or something like that.
Yeah, it was floated around. I don't know how based in reality that belief was, but we at least know it. So I was like getting that tie-in, especially because the picture of Dorian Gray aspect of it all. But to bring it into reality, I do think it's interesting to think about what photos do take from us, not necessarily our souls, but with social media, and especially social media now, you don't really have much of a say in regards to your image or a video of you being shared, right? And it's kind of just up there if people decide to put it up there.
Exactly. Very upsetting feature of society, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like everything is IP nowadays, right? Like,
Mhm.
because at least in our country, where corporations are people, like, everyone is like forced into this conversation of like what is mine and what isn't mine, and maybe because of just what photography and social media sharing is like, that was going to be inherent in anyway with the advance of technology. But like I just like thinking about a time where like the idea of one's image being, I don't know, contained and controlled is just so not the life I've lived, I guess, right? Like being in the modern time, that it's like crazy to think, but like that's the baseline, right? The baseline maybe is to think like we would have total control over our image because it is a part of us, but it is so, I mean, we don't even see our own image most of the time, right? Like everyone else does. So it's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see this with the spiraling of Mick's photo being shared, right? It's like Veronica shares it with like kind of consent, but it's up for
Yeah.
debate. And then it gets shared from Veronica without consent, and then it gets shared and it gets shared, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And you see it with art a lot of if you like don't watermark your art, that shit is
Hmm.
getting stolen and reposted somewhere else, and nobody's gonna know who the fuck you are, right? So it's like at that point, like speaking to your IP, like whatever you made or whatever, even if the photograph is of you or if the art is made by you, like that ownership doesn't matter. It just becomes a part of kind of the ether, right?
Yeah, it's like I think I at least start to feel like, man, like shouldn't I have a right to this thing, right? Like shouldn't I
Mm-hmm.
have a right to these images of myself? And like the answer is like, I mean, maybe I should, but I don't, right? And like there's kind of both a pre-AI and post AI versions of this, right? Where like even before AI, it's like, yeah, people are like selling things that don't belong to them, right? Like just totally like ripping, stealing, and then reselling. Which I think is different than making one's own interpretation of something, right? But like if you're like direct stealing something, that's definitely been a thing of just like, yeah, people just taking things that aren't ours, or aren't theirs. And then like we have this kind of post AI version where like, well, either it's like fed into a model that like someone is then using to produce their own thing, but like your work was in there without you having consented to it, that's then influencing other people making their stuff. Or if someone's really good at and clever at prompt engineering, they can do a good job reproducing what is in the data, and they can just take the thing that is yours, right? So there's just like all sorts of versions of this now too that are complicated, and very little law or regulation over that, and maybe there won't ever be, right? Which is also concerning. So
Yeah, the AI thing, it's because yeah, it kind of started as like sometimes photographs would spiral out, but mostly it was a lot of art, right? Your art gets stolen, it gets used for other things. It does get sold, it gets printed on t-shirts without your knowledge, that kind of
yes,
stuff.
the t-shirts is what I was thinking of for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with AI, there's been such a rise in like deep fakes, right? Like
Yeah, this is really where I get this fear, honestly. Like I could see myself if I grew up, if I was a little younger in this time. Not that I'm not worried about these things now, but like especially if I were younger, I would be so like scared, I think, just purely scared of deepfakes.
right, because it's happening to girls that are younger than Mick, right?
Right.
Like it is driving young girls to suicide. because this is being done to them. It's a big thing in like the streaming space as well. Women having to deal with people deep faking them and
that makes sense. Yeah,
all this kind of nonsense that's going on. And I don't think this book is recent enough for that to be a concern in this story, but a character like Mick who doesn't want to have her photos shared, like, this could be a concern if she was a little bit more modern, right? If she was happening right now, like, the more photos of her that get shared by Veronica and then spiral out, like, any of those can be used to not just make her feel nude, but actually make her nude, right?
Yeah.
Without her consent. And it's just... It's just a very interesting time we live in.
Yes, definitely.
Moving back a little bit, though, I did also want to bring up the idea of ownership, not just of photos getting taken, but I think kind of the problem you see when people are social media obsessed of, like, they kind of just give up their lives for free. Like, they share every experience of their life, right? And just let the internet have it. I feel like this is a similar concept that's being brought up here. Because, like, it wasn't just the fact that it was a photograph of Mick being shared. It was the fact that it was their first kiss together, right?
Where she feels like that's been taken, yeah.
Yeah, it's the experience itself that's been taken.
Yeah, I think the maybe, like, more relatable version for most people of this is, like, the do it for the gram type, right? Like, oh, we gotta do it for the gram. We gotta do this so we can get a picture of it and put it online. Or it could be a thing you're doing already, and it's like, wait, like, you know, you go to dinner and someone's like, oh, like, I gotta take a photo before anyone eats so I can post it to Instagram, right? Those sorts of things that I think for some people, like, they relate to, but some people get really annoyed by that, right? I think that's like the basic version of this. I certainly I think what Mick is concerned about is beyond that level. Like, I think she doesn't think Veronica is that person, right? I don't think she necessarily thinks Veronica is like I need to post everything on Instagram type of person, when at least when things start off. But off the bat, she's still already like no go. Like, I don't want this experience to be spread in any way. So whether or not it's on Instagram, it feels devaluing that we had to stop and take a photo, or we had to, like, present it in some way. Like, the moment you bring a camera up, and I think she kind of tries to make this point by turning it around on Veronica later, it's like the moment a camera comes up, it changes the vibe, right? It becomes a performance, even if you don't mean it to, even if you don't try to make it that way. It's just, we're humans, and, like, we can't really truly be unaware of the camera in the room. And so, like, that is really, I think, the core of it, beyond just, like, you know, the spreading of her own image. Like, I think that is the core of what's bothering her with Veronica's behavior.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about Nico a couple times. Let's actually get into it a little bit more. I'll just say, first off, he's kind of the, like, loose cannon character in my head. Like, there's just, and maybe because there's some secrecy built into what he's up to, I'm just like, man, every time he comes up, I get a little nervous.
First of all, he is older than these other characters. He's how old is he? Is he 20?
He's 17. He's not that much older. He's 2 years older than them, right?
He's not 17.
Is he not? Or maybe they met when he was 17 and she was 15, so he'd be what, 19 now?
Okay, because I was gonna say Mick is 17 and she can't buy a car. That's why she's asking him.
Right. You're totally right. So that must have been when they met then. I know they had a 2-year age gap, Veronica and Nico.
Yeah, and then only knowing each other for a semester, but deciding to stay friends.
Yeah.
And then also having that joke where they're married or whatever.
That really disturbs me, if I'm being honest. I don't like that thing at all. I kind of wonder if there's, like, a possessiveness there of, like, Nico with Veronica, that like represents, of, like, calling her wife and stuff. I haven't decided for sure yet. If it were, it would maybe also inform some ill intent with Mick.
Yeah, at first when he was making those comments, I thought he was gay, right?
Me too. I literally wrote down, like, I hope this is a gay dude doing this. Like, what?
Yeah, but then we get insight that him and Veronica have gone after, fought over women before, or something like to that effect, right? And obviously Mick is kind of in that position now.
Mm-hmm.
Although Nico is, as mentioned, an adult, so he really shouldn't be fucking around with anybody who's underage. I don't really care.
Yeah, like, truly, the moment you're out of high school, you need to leave that behind.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm feeling maybe a little unsettled about with Nico is, like, what he's doing in this story. Um, in that he's got the whole like kind of broken home background. He's a bit of a misfit, right? He's an artist. And he's doing things that are, I would say, not even questionably criminal in this story. And so he's hitting a stereotype that's like a little unsavory, which not that does, people like this exist, so it's fine, you can write about them, but it's the stereotype of it all does stick out to me, of like having that kind of broken home background and like being kind of destined for crime or kind of being in the underbelly type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the only reason I feel bad about it, other than it being a stereotype, is that like he's like the only guy in this book, which like is fine too, right? Like I'm not saying we need more male representation. We can move on from that, um, but it does seem like maybe he's being a little bit boxed in to something.
And I do think it makes sense for somebody shafted by society to fall into kind of political art and more extremist displays, I guess is what we're gonna call arson here. Um so I wasn't as like icked out by it, but I do understand the thread you're speaking on.
The thing that it made me feel was like this story is maybe going in the direction of there's a good type of poor and a bad type of poor, and Nico's the bad type and Mick is the good
Mm.
type. We'll have to see how it plays out, but that is like the slight potential disturbance I'm having about where this could be going.
Well, because they are very similar, right? Like, I think they're both very destructive, but I think Nico would destroy somebody else to save himself,
Yes,
and
for
Mick
sure.
is fine destroying herself. I think is what we're seeing right now.
Mm, mm,
Which yeah could play into your a good kind and a bad kind.
yeah. So,
Also a little gender-ish, like a man being selfish, a woman being kind.
well, and it made me think too about the. I think it's no accident, honestly, that he is a straight boy, not a gay one, in this close friendship with a queer woman. Like, I almost think it leans into the stereotype a touch more, right? It makes it more acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like this is a typical underbelly type thing too, where like he sees Mick as vulnerable, right? Like she's going through, he describes her as on the edge. And again, I think in a way he relates to her, connects to her, and it's like he's trying to pull her in, right? Like into his type of lifestyle. And like I think there tends to be a lot of narrative about this when you talk about drugs, for example, right? Of like, oh, like I see, I non-drug user think that what happens in drug user world is a vulnerable drug user, or a vulnerable person meets a drug user, and the drug user is like, hey, like become one of us, kind of a misery loves company type thing, right? And this is also on the other hand to say that I'm sure that happens too, but like there's like such a strong narrative around that being the thing, right? Of like, oh, like you become poor and then you lose hope, and then when you lose hope, you become a drug addict, and then you become homeless, and then that's the end of the line for you, right? Like kind of this like old school like alarmist pathway. Um, that's like I almost feel like that's what Nico at least represents, right? It's not drugs in this case. It's kind of this like dangerous protest art, right? Um, where it's like I'm like he's seeing her, sees the relation, is like I'm gonna pull her in. She's gonna become one of us, and he's gonna use her like to his advantage, right? Like he knows what he can get away with, so he's gonna make other people do things that he maybe can't get away with, and if they fuck it up, well, at least he's still around.
Yeah.
And the other thing with Nico too is he's also adding to the whole thing of Mick doesn't seem to get to consent to anything. Like, um, we've already talked about all the photo stuff with Mom and Veronica, but then here it's like Nico's just like, "Hey, come along." Like, there's not really like any explanation of what's going down or what she's agreeing to. I think you can say that she consented to starting the fire, though, right? Like that, she just does. But as far as like getting into the situation, understanding what it involves, the only reason she knows in the second time that something illegal might happen is because she's been around before. She has no idea what that includes, and the first time she definitely didn't understand that. Like, I think I'd be pretty upset if someone brought me to something that was like, could be busted, right? Like if not that I think it would happen really in this case, but hypothetically, there could be a police bust of all of these stolen goods in the warehouse, and they would be there for it. I'd be pretty upset about it, of being put in that risk without warning. Um, so she just it continues to be put into this position by people who are supposedly trying to find trust in her, but I think are really just trying to take advantage. It's just, I don't know, continues to suck to watch that.
Yeah, and another thing is he has the roll of film that includes the photo of her setting the fire, right? So
Mm.
that was also taken without anyone's consent. I don't think Veronica consented to her photos getting taken like that. And then Mick certainly wouldn't have consented.
Was it
Well,
not
she would
Veronica
have.
who took the photo of her in the fire?
Veronica took the photo, but at the end of the night, after Nico had stolen the camera, he took all the film out.
Right, right.
It was his event. Like I think he usually does that, but it does put Mick in a possibly bad situation if he uses that against her.
Yes. Yeah, well now there's a power dynamic for sure.
Yeah. Oh God, I just had a Gala thought.
Yeah, of like something that would happen there.
Yeah, because we know Nico wants to go. We're skipping a little bit, but it's fine. We know Nico wants to go. What if he like puts up his own photos or exchanges the photos so that he can do his own display, and that includes some of the ones taken during this installation, and it includes, I mean, if Veronica is going to showcase a series of Mick photographs, right?
Yeah. And she'll be there.
And her and Mick will be there. Then it's entirely possible one of the photographs Nico might pick is the fire photograph.
Yikes. That's big yikes.
Yeah.
I thought he might post it on his Tumblr page, which is still pretty bad, just to be clear. But at least gives her the chance to be on the run if she wants. That if she's at the event where it's revealed, which I could totally see being the case. Man, that makes a lot of sense because also like it's like why does he flip the switch and suddenly want to go? And it's like now he has these photos he didn't have before.
And he doesn't want Veronica to know,
Yes.
which means he's gonna do something there, right?
Something that Veronica wouldn't approve of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say too, I think Veronica probably enables Nico. Because the fact that Nico's able to be like, oh, like she's gonna ice me out for a bit. Like he's not worried at all that this friendship is over because of the level of disagreement they had over a literal arson, right? Like I think this has come from a long series of Nico doing things that he probably shouldn't be doing and Veronica probably doesn't approve of, but not actually facing any friendship level consequences for it.
Yeah, which kind of plays into Veronica's whole voyeur character, right? Like she's seeing the things that are happening, but she's never been like directly affected too much by them.
Yeah.
At most him taking the camera is pretty bad, but nobody's gotten like nobody important to her has gotten seriously hurt, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is an aspect of privilege to that, right? That she can kind of see these illegal things happen and photograph them, but it's like not her involved, which is kind of how she thinks about the fire, right? Like
Yeah.
she's like, Nico and Lily and all of them, they set it up, and then Mick is the one that started it, and Mick, how could you do that? And it's kind of like, okay, but Veronica, this all started because of you. First of all, introducing them, and then also you were also there taking photographs, even while she was setting the fire. So
Yeah, and like she put her trust into Nico, and that's kind of her fault at this point, right? Like
yeah,
she knows what he does, what he's up to. Like we've seen it ourselves, even just in this little bit of book that's a small portion of their lives. Like this is a little bit different than Mick, where it's like she really has no idea what's going on, right? And she's new and like she's definitely being taken advantage of. Veronica's old hat. She should know what sort of stuff goes on and should not agree to take photographs if she doesn't know what's happening.
hmm yeah, and you can kind of see it when Nico makes the comment. I don't remember exactly what he says, but he says something about Mick of like, and this is only the beginning or something. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, he says something to the effect of he's going to drag Mick into this more.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Veronica just kind of brushes it off. Like she doesn't take it as seriously as she probably should. Because I think, to your point, like she thinks she knows him, trusts him to a certain degree, probably feels like he won't do anything too detrimental because he should know that Veronica likes Mick, but it feels like Nico and Veronica are both going after the same girl. And only one person knows that, which is Nico.
Yeah, and you know what? On the muse topic, like I think that Mick is also Nico's muse, right? Like especially after having this photo, like I think that's the direction it's gonna go. Is like she, though I don't know how this happens without her getting arrested, but she maybe becomes the symbol of what he's doing. He's like Katniss Everdeaning her.
I mean, his installations are pretty well planned, but his next one is what, Buried Alive?
Yeah,
I mean, unless he's burying, who is it, the governor or the
The
mayor?
the
The
congressman.
congressman?
Yeah.
Unless he's burying that guy alive, then maybe he's burying his muse alive.
Oh God. I was definitely thinking he was gonna do something to the congressman in that vein. I I feel like maybe we were already having theory conversations, so I'm just gonna throw in another theory here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Nico's gonna kill the congressman by the end of this book.
Oh.
Truly, like, I'm like, again, arson is stage 2 of the 4-stage plan. Like, I just think it's gonna cross the line, and I haven't decided if I think it's intentional yet, but I think he is gonna do it.
So you think that's what the one murder is?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
I think maybe we're supposed to think it's Veronica because we get that scene in chapter 1, but I don't think so.
Oh, there's 2 murders, though.
Oh,
1 fire. Knock that off the list.
yes.
2 murders. 3 drowning bodies. We already have 1 boy that drowned. 1 suspect, 1 stalker. So there's 2 murders that need to happen in this book.
Hmm.
I mean, it could be the congressman. It could also be Veronica. We know from the first chapter.
Yeah, she's like bleeding out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Veronica's dying in this book personally. So she's like one of the main characters. I don't know. I mean, main character not enough, but like she's in the romance, so like that feels weird. Especially because I don't know. I'm looking at the back of the book again, and it starts an electric romance. So I just don't think either of the romantic characters are gonna die.
Okay.
I think Nico could also die. I don't know if that'll be a murder though, so that's different.
Oh, you think he might just die to like happenstance or get himself killed somehow?
Get himself killed, maybe. Yeah,
Mm.
or if he does something like kill someone, maybe take himself too. Or in self defense, Veronica kills him, but again, that's not really murder, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I think about the second half of the book has to do with Nico being set up. Well, there's a couple of things. There's the fact that there's not really other men in this book, and all of the other men who are referred to in this book, for the most part, are presumed shitty, like Veronica's dad, for example. So at the very least, there's not any representations of good men in this book. Oh, the other example being the other lifeguard with that was on shift with Mick, who was like flirting or something while the kid was drowning, right? So I think that Nico's not set up on a good path there. If there's no good men in the book, I don't think he's going to be one either. And then he's that kind of classic, like he has nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
He has no family that we know of. He has friends to lose, right? But he doesn't really have. And it sounds like he's living in a shelter or something, right? So I don't think he has a home to lose. So he's the most set up, frankly, to die by the end of this book. But as a result, he's also the most set up to do a crime, frankly.
Yeah. I wonder if that makes him, I mean, one suspect. That could make him the suspect, but I wonder if they're going to subvert that expectation and have the suspect not necessarily be
the murderer,
the actual criminal. Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, I mean, Nico is like the obvious answer, right? Like, he is obsessed with Mick. I think he's manipulating communications between Veronica and Mick so that he can engage them one-on-one, specifically Mick. We saw that the very beginning of the book, right? Like, when they get into an argument, he tells Veronica, don't go after her. And then he's the one that ends up going after her, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But I also think it's interesting, you mentioned the other lifeguard. It gets mentioned that, not Veronica, it gets mentioned that Mick tells the police, I think it is, the police, the truth of Angel having not done his job, and so the little boy died. And so I'm wondering if that's going to come up again. If Angel...
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Yeah,
if Angel might feel resentful that he probably will lose his job. He might even feel guilty about...
Well, I think they both lost their job. Frankly, so
I know. I was expecting a scene with her getting fired, but I'm like, that's such bullshit because she was on her break. Like,
yeah, totally.
But yeah, it would be another bad thing to happen to her for her to lose her job, to be honest. So not surprised. But Angel might use it as fuel to hurt her, basically. So he might be the actual evil of the book, the actual criminal.
That's a good call. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's not my first guess for sure, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, just if like we wanted to do something different, you know, the not expected route.
Again, I'd be totally down for that. I don't really like that. Again, I'm not liking the direction of Nico in general and kind of what he represents, but that's just like maybe the obvious direction is like Yeah, it just, especially the whole like he has nothing to lose factor. It's like, well, and he's like loose cannon, like who knows.
Hmm.
The big one there being that I think he'll kill the congressman. I'm sure there's other things that we could potentially attribute to him doing in the second half as well. Like I'm very concerned about the car situation. Like not that I really have a specific theory of what I think he's gonna do, but I think Mick buying a car in Nico's name and Nico being like secretly, this is my car because it's in my name, and like doing something shady about it. I don't know, or like just holding it over Mick. Any of those.
Yeah, I definitely see the using it as leverage.
For the gala, I also noticed how they said that someone dropped out, and that's why they have a spot for Veronica. And at first I was like, oh, is this also Nico? Though now I don't really think so. But they seem to specify, like, lean into the whole like, oh, like how could someone drop out of this? Like, and they're like, oh, he just kind of disappeared. What if that was Angel?
That'd be
anyway.
crazy.
I don't know. That'd be nuts. Yeah. And then I had the brief thought of like, I don't know, just like what are all the other characters we don't really know about in this book, like the dads or something. But the only reason I'm leaning into it is because they did a little bit more than I think they had to make the point. So I thought maybe there was a relevance to who she replaces.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I saw it more so of like that scene felt like Veronica was taking any reason she could to justify betraying Mick, right? Because she agrees to it before talking to Mick about it. It also kind of showcases that some people aren't willing to go all in on art, right? Like maybe we won't ever learn about who stepped down or who disappeared, but like maybe they're just not obsessed, right? Like maybe they're more healthy about the art they take rather than
Right.
Veronica, who's like,
Well, yeah.
can't see anything else.
A lot of times, like competitive things like this pull out not necessarily the best people, but the people who are willing to sacrifice others to get what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not 100%, but that definitely happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite a lot of the hesitations I have about the book, I reached the halfway point and I was like, I do want to know what happens next. Like,
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it plays out. Like, there's some hesitation about how I'm gonna feel about the way certain characters were delivered in this book,
Mm-hmm.
the points that the book is trying to make. Like, it really is. It just depends what direction it's going, and like being in the middle of it. Luckily, I'm glad that I don't think I 100% know, but it'll really depend for me on how I feel about this book when it comes around. I think I've gotten past, like this things I was complaining about at the beginning of like the YA feel. That's fine. I think we developed the characters, so we're good there, but just content stuff now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel slightly cursed with knowledge.
The whole Dorian Gray thing, or
Because I know what happens in Dorian Gray, yeah.
yeah.
Not that necessarily means anything. I don't know how much the author might
they
just
can still
be
do what they want. Yeah.
Yeah, it might just be these characters are obsessed with art, and that's it, right? That might be the only tap in we get, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second half. It also feels like there's not necessarily a genre shift, but because we still have to deal with 2 murders and 3 drowned bodies and all this stuff, it feels like there's going to be a shift.
I think that's true. Yes.
As always, if you have your own thoughts or theories, all of our socials are in the description.
And please like and rate 5 stars, and follow or subscribe on whichever podcast app you use to listen to us. And thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Just the thank you.
Just thank you this time. I thought about fixing it and then I just didn't.
Okay.